Hello, I'm Will, this is Mike with the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we're looking at issue 19 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine, which came with Gardus Steel Soul, a named character for the Stormcast Eternals. As usual, we'll have a look through the magazine and then look at his rules and try him out in this week's game. Having a look through the magazine first we learn about the magic of the greenskins, called war magic. So greenskins actually generate a sort of magic field around themselves unconsciously, which gets stronger the more of them there are in one place. Both Orcs and Grots generate their own variations on this, which is known as war magic, named after the battle cry of the Orcs, and also the name for a large sort of migration conquest sort of thing that happens when enough of them gather in one place. This magical energy is wielded by the various wizards of the greenskins. So we've already learnt about the swamp caller shamans of the Kruleboyz, who use sort of cunning spells. The weird knob shamans of the Ironjaws, by contrast, like all Ironjaws, wields the magic like a blunt instrument to smash the enemy with until they don't move anymore. Whereas the fungoid cave shamans of the Gloomspite Gits consume large quantities of mushrooms, which allows them to see the future in some kind of strange way. Sigmar's Storm talks about Sigmar's campaign to liberate the mortal realms after the Age of Chaos. So once his Stormcast Eternals armies were ready, he unleashed them from the gates of Aesir to establish beachheads in the mortal realms and drive the forces of chaos back. And also trying to find allies amongst the mortal realms and liberate some of the remaining besieged forces of order. And although they met with success, this by no means meant the job was done, because with the forces of chaos driven back, they still controlled large proportions of the mortal realms, and so for most inhabitants life didn't change very much, and it also relieved the pressure on forces of destruction and death, who were then able to set out and pursue their own agendas, which are not always the same as Sigmar's. Now we learn about the Sons of Bahamut, the descendants of the god beast Bahamut. These are enormous humanoids called Gargants, extremely strong and tough, but generally a bit dim-witted, ranging in size all the way up to the gigantic Mega Gargants. They live basically only to destroy things and take what they want from the ruins. Various kinds of Mega Gargants that are known based on what they prefer to do, and it also mentions the Man Crushers, which are the smallest ones who tend to follow the Mega Gargants around looking for a good scrap. Now we have the background for Gardus Steel Soul. He's actually a Lord-Celestant, the leader of the Steel Soul's warrior chamber of the Hallowed Knights Stormhost. So not the Hammers of Sigmar like we've seen so far. As an exemplar of that Stormhost, he is an extremely pure soul, in fact one of the few beings to have walked through the garden of the plague god Nurgle and come back uncorrupted. There's a table you can roll on here to see why he's joined your Stormcast or your Order force in the magazine. And over the page you can roll to see what sort of tactics he'll be employing. And also you can record some great deeds and even some epic deeds, which will be much harder to achieve. And his build guide, he goes together pretty easily. It's not a push together model, so you will need glue. And it recommends keeping him off his base just to make the underside a little bit easier to paint. And then his painting guide. So he is a Hallowed Knight, so the painting is slightly different to what we've seen, but it's mostly just replacing some areas that would be gold on the Hammers of Sigmar with silver areas. So we're base coating those with lead belcher and then adding the gold trim afterwards. And it suggests painting his base with Corax White and then shading it with Anthrax Earthshade to make some sort of dirty rocks. But that's it for our look at the issue. I'll hand you over to Mike now. We'll look at his war scroll and get into our game.
Well, as usual, when we get new models, we get new war scrolls. So we have the war scroll here for Gardus Steel Soul. So he's got a 5-inch move, 6 wounds, a 3+ save, and Mighty Bravery 10. He has a missile weapon, his Sigmarite War Cloak, which has a range of 12, d6 attacks, hits and wounds on 3s, randomised on 1 damage, and his Sigmarite Rune Blade and Warhammer for melee weapons, which have a 1-inch range, 5 attacks, hitting and wounding on 3s, -1 round 2 damage. And so he has several abilities. He has Aura of Purity, which gives friendly Hallowed Knights units wholly within 12 of him a ward of 5+, and unfortunately he's the only Hallowed Knight we get with this collection, but these rules will still apply to him, so effectively he gives himself 5+ ward. Also he has Martyr's Strength, where if he is destroyed in the combat phase on a 2+, he can fight before he's removed from play, and he can do that even if he's already fought as well, I believe. Then he has Saintly Assault, where once per battle, or at the start of your charge phase, you can declare a Saintly Assault, and if you do so, until the end of that turn, you can reroll charge rolls for friendly Hallowed Knights units wholly within 12 inches of Gardus, and add 1 to the attacks of melee weapons for friendly Hallowed Knights heroes wholly within 12 of Gardus, so both of those only apply to him. And here we have some tutorials for those 3 abilities. So having a look at Aura Purity first, this basically explains what a ward roll is. This is a roll you get to make after a unit takes damage, and then if you roll the ward roll, the number it says, you ignore damage. So he's got a ward of 5+, so if you roll a 5 or a 6, he ignores the damage. And that applies to mortal wounds as well, so it can protect him from venom-encrusted weapons. In Martyr's Strength, again, if Gardus is slain during the combat phase, you can roll a dice on a 2+, he gets to fight before he's removed, even if he's already fought. And then Saintly Assault is fairly self-explanatory. And then we have the War Scroll for the Beast Skewer Killbow, so its vital statistics are basically the same. It has the pick 'em off rule like the Bolt Boys, however it does not get to make an extra attack with its hasty shot, so you really don't want to move it at all. It has venom encrusted weapons like all the other Kruleboyz units, but then the most notable change is it has the Skewered rule now, so rather than doing flat 4 damage, what you do now to determine the damage characteristic is you roll a number of dice equal to the wounds characteristic of the target unit, and then the damage characteristic of the Killbow or of the Beast Skewer Bolt is 2 + 1 for each roll of 5+. Again, tutorials for both these. Pick them off as you might expect. You want to deploy it somewhere where it will be in range, but then move it as little as possible. And there you can see an example of Skewered, where the Knight Arcana has been shot at. So you roll 6 dice. In this example, you've got 3 5+ rolls, so the damage is 5 to the Knight Arcana. Then we have some more of the core rules. This is just sort of clarifying battle rounds. So a battle round is after both players have had a turn. So up until now we've been alternating turns, but what you normally do is you actually make a priority roll at the start of the battle round, in which case both players roll a dice. And the player who wins gets to pick who goes first in that battle round, and then they have their turn, and then the second player has their turn, and then that's the end of the battle round. So at the top there you can see an example of the priority roll being made. Basically you just roll off and whoever wins gets the choice. However, if it's a draw and it's the first battle round, then the player who finished deploying their army first gets priority in the first battle round. Otherwise the player who went first in the previous battle round has priority. So what this does mean is that there is a possibility that you might get to make 2 turns in a row, or the double turn as it's known. It can be quite a game-changing ability, although it is worth noting that things like any abilities that end at the start of your next hero phase will effectively immediately end, so you will need to recast spells and that sort of things. And it is worth noting that if you take a double turn, you are leaving yourself exposed to your opponent having one, if they get priority in the next battle round. And now we can go into today's game, Soul of Steel. So Gardus Steel Soul has arrived in Gurn and has commandeered some of the Stormcast heroes to raid a Kruleboyz encampment. So we have Gardus Steel Soul, the Lord Imperatant, the Knight Arcanum and the 4 Praetors going to be attacking the Kruleboyz, which consist of Manok de Cunnin with the Cunnin crew, the Beast Skewer Killbow, the 10 Gut Rippers and the 10 Hobgrot Slitters. You can see our deployment map, so we have a territory along the short edges up to the nearest fold. Although we are using terrain in this game, so what you do is once we've deployed all our models, either on the battlefield or in reserve, and starting with the player who finished deploying their models first, we take it in turns, choosing a piece of primal air scenery and placing it on the battlefield. And each scenery piece must be placed within your territory or within the no man's land, and each scenery piece must be deployed more than 3 inches from another scenery piece until all 6 have been placed. The game will last for 5 battle rounds, and if you manage to slay all your opponent's models, you win. Otherwise, if both sides have forces left at the end, it's a draw. And then the turn sequence is pretty much what you'd expect. Just remember to do things like dirty tricks at the start of the game and to roll for priority at the start of each battle round. So I'll get the board set up and get straight into it. Well, here we are deployed, and we've got all the terrain set up as well. So from left to right as you see it, at the top I've got the Beast Skewer Killbow, then the Gut Rippers, then the Cunning crew with Manok de Cunnin, and the Gut Rippers and the Hobgrot Slitters.
And over on my side, starting closer to the camera, we've got the Praetors and the Knight Arcanum, the Lord Imperatant, and then Gardus Steel Soul.
So before our first priority roll, the Praetors have to pick which hero they're going to bodyguard.
And that will be the Knight Arcanum.
And then now we're rolling off for priority. I want priority, so I'm going to choose to go first. And this is now when I decide which dirty trick I'm going to use. But I guess I also get to roll for Manok's schemes, so on a 5+. No, so I only get to pick 1. I think I'll actually choose Covered in Mud. So I roll 3 dice from each 4+, I get to pick a unit. I got 1, I'm going to pick the Beast Skewer Killbow to be covered in mud. With all that, we can head into Kruleboyz turn 1. Movement phase, my units are all just sort of moving up normally. Hobgrot's hiding behind the big skeleton. Gut Rippers and the Cunning crew moving up as well. In the shooting phase, I'll do the Beast Skewer Killbow at first. It's going to shoot at the Lord Imperatant. So we got 1 shot hitting on a 2, 6s are mortal wounds instead. When we hit, wounds on a 3. It does not. And Manok the Cunning, his bird might peck at something. It will try and peck at the Lord Imperator as well if it's rolled high enough range. Whoa, 17, that's going to be in range. So the Maw-Crow, 3 attacks hitting on 4s, but 5 pluses do mortal wounds instead. So actually that's 2 hits and a mortal wound. And these wound on 5s. Oh, he got a wound. No rend.
3 plus? Yeah, so just a mortal wound. He's down to 6.
Oh, well, that's it. Quick first turn onto Stormcast Eternals turn 1.
In the hero phase, we're going to try and cast Mystic Shield, needing a 5.
Yeah.
Getting it with a 9. We just moved up a little bit. Don't want to get too close because if the Kruleboyz win priority in the next turn, they'll be able to charge me very easily, whereas if I move up my full distance, I'll have very long charges now. Putting the Lord Imperator slightly out front because I did put Mystic Shield on him, and the Knight Arcanum actually moved round the other side of the Praetors. Then we'll have the shooting phase, where both the Lord Imperator and Gardus Steel Soul are going to use their ranged attacks on the Gut Rippers. I'll do them both at once because they're the same profile. The Gardus has less range, but he is in range. So it'd be 2d6 shots from the both of them. 9. Hitting on 3s. 7. And wounding on 3s. 7.
7, 6 plus saves. Ooh, didn't make any, so that's going to be 3 dead, plus a wound.
But that's all my shooting, and I'm not going to declare any charges.
Yeah, so Gut Rippers are going to have to make a Battleshock test. Well, they're bravery 5 and we've lost 3, so 1 more runs away. Down to 6 Gut Rippers, and that's the end of the battle round, so we're rolling for priority again.
Well, I've won this time, and I will choose to go first.
Oh, the Stormcast double turn. Stormcast turn 2.
Try and cast Mystic Shield again, because the downside of the double turn is it does go away. Being 5, well, getting it with a 10, so we can move to there, and we'll do some shooting. We still can't see the kill bow because it's covered in mud, so we're going to use the... we'll use Gardus first. He's going to throw hammers at the Cunning crew. D6 times, 5. 3s, it's 4 hits, wounding on 3s as well.
5 plus goes to 6 plus armour. Nope. 3 damage goes to the Cunning crew. I'll kill off Shank and then put the other one on Crookgrin. Fortunately I've deployed them quite poorly actually.
And I think we'll use the Lord Imperator's battle on there as well. Another D6. 4. 3s. 2 hits wounding on 3s. 1.
6 plus armour again. Nope. 1 damage kills off Crookgrin.
On to the charge phase. We'll use Gardus' once per game Saintly Assault, so he can re-roll charge rolls and gets +1 attack in melee.
Yep.
And we'll do his charge first.
Yep, but I'm going to use Scare Tactics. Let's use them on the Lord Imperator. So, Scare Tactics, going to need a good roll for this. Nope.
Gardus' charge roll is in without the re-roll. Lord Imperator will charge them as well. I think he fails with a 4. Yeah, unfortunately that is a failure, and he's also in the way of the Praetors now, so the Knight Arcanum will try and charge the Gut Rippers. Need a big roll, not a 3, and the Praetors won't be going anywhere. Well, I'm not going to try and charge with the Praetors, so we'll just go to the fight phase where Gardus is the only one in melee. So he has 6 attacks because of Saintly Assault, which hit on 3s. 4 hits, and wound on 3s. 3. Minus 1.
6 plus armour. Ooh, made 1. Only 2 dead Gut Rippers. So 2 dead Gut Rippers, the remaining ones will pile in around just to stop Gardus going around them to bring the kill bow into range. Then we've got 9 attacks hitting on 4s, 6 do mortal wounds instead. No mortal wounds. 4 hits wounding on 4s, getting 2.
With a 3 plus save. Failed 1, so it doesn't go through, but he has his 5 plus ward, so he'll ignore that damage on 5 plus. He did not, he's down to 5.
Yeah. Gut Rippers lost 2, so another Battleshock test for them. They're okay, because bravery 5. Then we'll be on to the Kruleboyz' turn. Cunning crew have to make a Battleshock test as well, they lost 2. So they're bravery 6, so they are okay. My movement phase, the Hobgrots ran, gets them around the skeleton and they're all in range of the Praetors. 2 remaining Cunning crew and Manok are coming into the middle. They're going to fight to the Lord Imperator. Gut Rippers are going to stay in combat. And then in the shooting phase, I'll do the kill bow first, and it's going to shoot at Gardus Steel Soul. So 1 shot from the kill bow on a 2. We hit normally. Wounds on a 3. It did this time. Ren minus 2.
5 plus save. Nope.
So Gardus has 6 wounds normally, so I roll 6 dice and each 5 plus is a +1 damage. So that's only 3 damage.
But he does have his ward on 5, so he ignores 1 damage, so he takes 2 and goes down to 3 wounds.
And then I'll do Manok's Maw-Crow. Its range is 12. It will go for Gardus as well. Probably just going to try and peck him to death with mortal wounds. But he missed. Finally, there's 10 grenades from the Hobgrots. Going to put those on the Praetors. 10 attacks on 4s. Remember, they can shoot and run in the same turn because they've got the Drummer. 7 hits, wounding on 3s. 5 wounds. -1.
4s. I'll reroll that. It does not want to sit flat. 4 damage. So we lose a Praetor.
And another one takes wounding. And then we're on to the charge phase. I'll do the Cunning Crew first. So the Cunning Crew get a 6, and I'll do Manox as well. Gets a 6 as well. So the Cunning Crew will go past the Lord Imperator, and then Manox will burn the gap. Hopefully not too many Praetors will be able to get into him. Maybe one can fit in between the Lord Imperator and that crystal. I think I'll choose Manox to go first on the Praetors. So Manox got 4 attacks on the Praetors, hitting on 3s, 5 pluses do mortal wounds instead. Oh, well, we got mortal wound, and then 2 regular hits that wound on 3s. 1 wound at -1.
4 plus? Nope.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just 2d3 damage effectively. 2. So we killed one.
Then I'm not scared of the Cunning Crew, so I think I'll pick Gardus Steel Soul to fight next. Back to his normal 5 attacks, hitting on 3s. That's 4. And wounding on 3s. Only 2.
6 plus armour. Oh, we made one. Only 1 dead. Gut Ripper. Well, Gut Ripper's a save, so I'll do Talk a Tough Skull next. Gicket there at the back's probably not going to be able to get in range. 4 attacks from Mr. Tough Skull on 3s. 6 do mortal wounds instead, so it's just 2 regular hits. That wound on 3s, getting 1. -1.
So 3 plus because of Mystic Shield. Oh no, it takes a wound.
Down to 5.
I'll do the Praetors next because we can get 1 in range of Manox. It's the Prime though, so 4 attacks on 3s. No, only hit once. Wounds on 3. Yeah.
Is it -2?
No, I think it's -1.
5 plus save then. Oh, made it. Gut Rippers get to go next. 7 attacks on 4, 6 do mortal wounds. Well, we got a mortal wound and a hit. That wounds on a 4. It does.
3 plus save, yes, and then a ward against the mortal wound on 5, yes. So I've just got the Lord Imperator left. He's going to put all his attacks on Manox. 4 attacks from his hammer on 3s. 2 hits. 3s, nothing. And the Griffhound, Dauntless on 3s as well. Gets 2 hits. 4s, 1 wound.
4 plus armour. No. He's next to the Cunning Crew, so he gets shunted off into Gicket. At the end of the combat phase, the Cunning Crew actually get to use their Snatch Crew ability because the Praetors are within range, within 2 inches of them. So Praetors are 3 wounds each, so I need to get a 6. But I get +1 because Talk a Tough Skull is still alive. So I need to roll 5. Nope, that's only 2. Well, largely ineffectual combat, but the Gut Rippers do have to take another Battleshock test. We lost 1. Nope, lost another 1. But that's it, we're back to running for priority.
I won again, so I will definitely go first again.
So Stormcast 10-3.
We'll try and cast Blaze of the Heavens this time, needing a 7. Yes, we get it with a 7, so it's D3 mortal wounds to a target of my choice. We'll pick the Gut Rippers actually, because if we can kill them with shooting as well, then Gardus will be free. Oh, 3 mortal wounds.
Ooh, down to just the boss on 1 wound.
And then the only movement from me will be the Knight Arcana moving around the piece of terrain like that. And in the shooting phase, we'll start with Gardus throwing hammers at the remaining Gut Ripper. D6 times, 5 again, and 3s, no, only 2 hits, and 3s, they both wound.
Double 6 to live. No.
And you use the Stormcaller Baton on Manox, D6, 4, again.
Remarkably consistent.
3s, 3, and 3s, 1.
5 plus. No. Next to the Cunning Crew. Oh, it's ignored.
Charge phase, we'll declare a charge with Gardus first. Rolling an 8, so that'll be enough to get him into the bow. Yeah, so he'll go around the corner to try and deal with the kill bow, and then the Knight Arcana will charge as well. And shoot him with a 5. She'll come into the Cunning Crew, but I'll pick the Lord Imperator to fight first, putting all his attacks on Manox again. 4 attacks with the hammer, only hits twice. 3s, 1.
You got a wound this time. 5 plus. Oh, goes through next to the Cunning Crew. So they both go through to the Cunning Crew. So Gicky gets smushed. Talker takes a wound.
And the Griffhound hits 3 times. 4s, 2.
4 plus armour. made neither. So it... Whoa, Talk a Tough Skull takes one and ignores another. Pick Manok to go next. He's going to attack the Praetors. 4 attacks on 3s. Oh, there's just 2d3 mortal wounds straight away. 5.
1 left on a wound. I think I'll do the Praetor attacking Manok. 4 attacks, getting 3 hits. 3s. No, nothing.
I'll do the Kruleboyz next. 3 attacks on 4s. Oh, he got a hit and a mortal wound. And just a mortal wound.
Does he ignore the mortal wound? Oh, he does. And the Knight Arcanum, she's going to put her attacks on Manok. Probably some of them will be passed off, but we'll see. 3 attacks on 3s. 2 hits. 3s again.
4s.
No, 4s to wound. Nothing.
Well, I'll do Talk a Tough Skull. He's going to attack the the Lord Imperatant. 3 attacks on 3s. Doing 2 hits and 3s. 1.
3 plus? No, 4 plus. Well, he's got to fail it anyway. It's down to 4. And finally, we've got Gardus attacking the Kruleboyz. 3s. Well, they all hit.
Ooh.
Didn't like being shot at. Oh, they all wound. Oh no, 4 wounds.
It won't die. No, it's 2 damage.
2 damage each.
Oh no! 6s. Oh, it's dead. And now it's the end of the combat phase. Talk a Tough Skull's going to have to be making a Battleship test, but he does get a chance to snatch the Praetor Prime before that. So he needs to roll a 5 plus. No.
No.
And then his Battleship test. Oh, he runs away. Well, we're down to just Manok and the Hobgrots. But Manok's luck's been pretty good so far as we head into Kruleboyz turn 3. Only movement is the Hobgrots moving around to get in range of the Lord Imperatant. Manok's going to stay where he is. I'll do the Hobgrots first. They're going to throw their grenades at the Lord Imperatant. 10 attacks on 4s. 7 hits wounding on 3s. 4 wounds at -1.
4s. Oh, we take 3. We're down to 1.
So then we've got Manok's Maw-Crow. Its range is 7, but he can only attack things within 3 of them anyway. Yeah, we'll attack the Lord Imperatant. He's the most dangerous. So 3 attacks hitting on 4s, 5s do mortal wounds instead. Oh, it missed. Come on, bird. I'm not going to charge with the Hobgrots because I think even though there's 2 heroes, 2 things there on 1 wound, they're just going to get smushed. So Manok goes first and he'll attack the Lord Imperatant. He's by far the most dangerous of the 2. 4 attacks on 3s from Manok. Oh, only 1 hit and it's no mortal wounds. Uh-oh. It didn't wound. Oh no.
Well, I've just got everybody to attack back, basically. I'll do the Knight Arcanum first so that she can pile in. She gets 2 hits. Wounding on 4s. Oh, 2.
Hey,
Made up for it.
she's made it this time.
One probably.
5 plus. Fail both.
Oh,
Oh, he is D3 damage.
yeah. D3 each. Oh, 6.
Oh, he goes down.
Oh, well.
Manok's luck finally runs out. But that's it. Yeah, that's the end of Battle Round 3. Priority for Battle Round 4.
Well, I won again, so I'll go first.
So we're into Stormcast turn 4.
Casting a spell, I'm just going to go for Arcane Bolt because it's easy to cast. 5. D3 mortal wounds to the Hobgrots. 1. And then moving like this, and we'll just do both ranged weapons at the same time because they're both in range. D6 shots each. 7. 9 3s. 4 hits wounding on 3s. 2.
2 dead. Down to 7.
And then everybody will charge, but we'll start with Gardus because he's by far the longest distance. I don't think a 7 will be enough. I'm sure everybody else. Knight Arcanum, 11. Lord Imperatant, well, just about with a 4. And the Praetor, yes, with a 9. Going in like that, and we'll just pick the Lord Imperator to fight. Hammer hits 3 times, wounds 3 times, and 6 dead.
Yep.
Griffhound gets 2 wounds.
6 plus. Nope, they're all gone. Well, with the Hobgrots swiftly dealt with, that will be a Stormcast victory. We'll recap that game for you now. Well, that was the game for issue 19 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine. How did you think that went?
Well, it went pretty well for me, really. A little bit of a wobble in the middle when the Praetors went down to 1 wound and the Lord Imperatant was down to 1 wound. But then some of your rolling wasn't really very good. Key moments, unfortunately.
I mean, if I think you prolonged the game by a turn by taking so long to kill Manok.
I also won all the turn roll-offs after the first one, so I just got to go first all the time, which meant you didn't really get to do your shooting where you wanted it before my units could achieve what they could do. I obviously deployed on one side of the board and went after one bit of your army to try and keep the Hobgrots out of range for at least 1 turn, which kind of worked.
Hobgrots don't really do very much, and they certainly don't survive if you look at them.
What I didn't want to happen, I wanted to charge the Gut Rippers rather than let them charge me, basically. So I got to fight them first. The Lord Imperator failed his first charge, which didn't help, but fortunately Gardus was okay.
Yeah, I did deploy the Cunning Crew poorly, but I don't think it makes all that much difference. Yeah, and the Kruleboyz failed to wound. It's kind of reliant on it actually doing something.
Yeah, the Kruleboyz is very scary now. It's got its new rules, but it does have to actually roll. It does have to hit and wound.
I mean, on average, against shooting a model with 6 wounds, I think it averages out to 4 damage anyway. So it's slightly better against heroes because it's going to be good for taking out the chariot, but it still has to actually wound. Is the first thing.
Yeah.
Basically, use it the same way with its full data sheet. You really don't want it to move at all. Doesn't get any possible benefit out of it like the Bolt Boys would. And the potential for damage is very high. I mean, technically, if you shot it at something like a Mega Gargant that has 35 wounds, you're quite likely to do. It's good. You're going to be really good against them. Kind of weirdly, it's not very good against large units of low wound models, which seems a bit odd considering it's a big ballista.
And then, Gardus Steel Soul, he did quite well in this game.
He's just, at the moment, is another Stormcast hero that's just a big bundle of wounds and attacks. He's got more attacks than Lord Imperator. He has one less wound. He's got more attacks with his weapon than Lord Imperator. He doesn't have the Griff Hand. He has one less wound, but he's got his 5+ ward and ability to fight again. He's just a big beat stick, basically.
Yeah.
I get the impression they had a lot of Gardus Steel Souls left, because Gardus Steel Soul is a named character for the Hallowed Knights. Well, unfortunately, a lot of other Stormcast named characters are for the Hammers of Sigmar, and the Hammers of Sigmar are like the poster boys army. I mean, you can paint your army however you want and use whatever rules you want with them. You'd actually have to play the Hammers of Sigmar if you use the blue and gold colour scheme, but the way this collection is going to work, he's the only Hallowed Knight we get, so we're not actually using him at his full capacity. And I have to wonder how many people actually play with the Hallowed Knights rules as well.
Yeah, well, exactly, because his Hallowed Knights rules make him tankier and give him a boost to combat once per game. You can imagine if you had a whole Hallowed Knights army, he would be considerably more useful, getting 5+ ward for everything nearby, rerolling charges once per game for a large chunk of your army as well. I mean, personally, I prefer the Hallowed Knights colour scheme to the Hammers of Sigmar, but
yeah, I do as well. The gold colour scheme, I think, looks a bit too gaudy.
Yeah.
And otherwise, the Hallowed Knights is a very similar colour scheme.
Yeah.
You can still take Gardus Steel Soul in a Hammers of Sigmar army, but I think he wouldn't get the Hallowed Knights battle trait. Obviously, his auras, his abilities only affect other Hallowed Knights.
Unfortunately, like occasionally happens with these collections, it just feels like a little bit of a stretch to justify why he's here. Narratively, he's by himself without any of the other Hallowed Knights. In the game rules, he doesn't really fit with the rest of the collection.
And he's not like he's Xandar's Truthseekers or anything, or an Underworld's warband where you could explain why he's off on his own. He's a Lord-Celestant. They're important people.
He's supposed to be the commander of a warrior chamber, so why he's here by himself doesn't make a great deal of sense.
The model does come with a helmeted head, so you could probably use it as a generic Lord-Celestant if you really wanted to. And I do really like the model. There are a number of Games Workshop models that have this sort of dynamic entry pose, and I think his is the only one that actually looks good.
Yeah, he's doing his kind of superhero arrive from the sky pose, smashing up the ground as he lands.
You can see, they even have a picture in the magazine of the lightning coming off him.
And actually, his backstory, I think, is one of the more interesting ones. First, had to go into the Garden of Nurgle and fight his way out again, and all that kind of thing. It's actually quite interesting. I think there's books about him as well, so you can read about him if you're actually interested in his story. But
yes, we should talk about the double turn, possibly the most controversial rule in Age of Sigmar, because it's not in Warhammer 40,000.
Some people like it, some people don't, because it can be a massive advantage if you get the double turn. And it does point out in the magazine there's some downsides of getting the double turn, like, well, your opponent might get the double turn now, so you've got to actually make it count. But it can swing a game that might otherwise have been a bit closer. You never know. There probably is many instances of it working as not.
I don't know, maybe on a game this small it's not super powerful. I think probably the main reason I would dislike it is that if your opponent gets a double turn, you have 2 whole turns of not really doing anything. You're not really engaging with the game except making armor saves.
Yeah, it's better in the current edition of Age of Sigmar than it was previously, because you do have some command abilities you can use in your opponent's turn, which we'll learn about at some point.
And
so
also,
there's something you can do.
If you go secondary in battle round, you get an extra command point, but we'll learn about that in the future.
Yeah, so they have improved that.
I mean, in a game this small, you don't have to wait that long before you get to do something. But so, don't think there's too much more to say about this game or this issue or Gardus Steel Soul. Let us know in the comments if you've been getting Stormbringer, how you've been getting on, and so on. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.